Up to 10 investors have expressed interest in the upcoming 500-acre leather industrial park in the outskirts of Nairobi. As CNBC Africa reports, the investors are eyeing establishments in leather tanning and manufacturing of shoes, among other products. Take a look. Kenya's first industrial leather park, located in the outskirts of Nairobi, has so far attracted 10 companies involved in leather tanning, shoe and glove manufacturing. Authorities say the 500-acre facility will be home to at least 60 farms in the leather sector.
We have completed the master planning phase of the industrial park, and we have similarly finalized and validated the feasibility study and the strategic environmental assessment. As of today, all statutory approvals at both national and county level have been obtained for the new development. Upon launch and operationalization, the Kenya Leather Park will play a major role towards firmly placing Kenya as a key player in the global supply chain for leather products by providing an enabling, incentivized environment for investments in the sector.
The government is promising a tax incentive to companies based within the export processing zones where the leather park will be established. According to the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Cooperatives, the companies will be allowed to sell up to 20% of their processed leatherwares duty-free in the local market.
Leather products that are today produced within the export processing zone facilities that would traditionally be subjected to tax have now been amended such that up to 20% of those leather products that are today produced within our export zones that are geared for exports can now be sold into the domestic market. Up to 20% of that can be sold into the domestic market duty-free. And that is something that we are doing deliberately to provide access, to make it possible for people in our country and in the region to access competitive products that are manufactured in this country.
The Leather Park is a flagship project under Vision 2030 aimed at increasing the contribution of the leather industry to the economy. As at 2015, Kenya produced 2.26 million hides and 20.3 million pieces of skin, equivalent to 102,000 tons of leather. Furthermore, a study by the Export Processing Zones Authority says that production is set for a 2.1% annual growth in the coming years.
$100 billion is the size of the opportunity that we have. And then you look at that and see how much of that is happening in Africa. It's about 4 billion. 4% is what Africa is actually able to do. And if you look at Kenya, we do just about $140 million. Less than 0.25%. So Africa does 4% of the world. Kenya does less than 0.25% of Africa. So, it just shows the size of the opportunity and what we could achieve if we got this right.
The country's leather industry contributes a paltry 0.3% to the GDP. The industrial leather park, therefore, is among the projects aimed at raising the contribution of the manufacturing sector to 15% of GDP from the current 11%. In addition, the park will raise contribution of the leather industry to national employment from 0.7% by improving the number of jobs to 35,000.
We are transforming Kenya's industrial base sector by sector. And we have about 10 sectors we've identified. And in the medium term, which is 2 to 3, maximum 5 years, we have a few sectors that we have identified that are very critical in creating jobs, transforming the rural lives, as well as also the value adding in the country. And one of those sectors is the leather sector. We have the textiles, we have the agro-processing. Those are the 3 critical sectors that we have identified.
The government has so far invested 1 billion shillings in setting up basic infrastructure such as roads, electricity, water and waste disposal systems in efforts to lower the amount of initial capital and operational costs for the incoming investors. Another perennial challenge in the industry is the influx of cheaply imported synthetic products. To this end, the government is working on a leather policy that will establish importation standards.
We have, in the last couple of years, made it difficult for people to export raw hides. That is a big win. That is to provide raw materials for our industry, and that is working well. What we want to do is in the next 2 to 3 years, and we are doing this jointly with the sector players, is we will also make it difficult for people, industry, to export the semi-processed leather. We want as much as possible of our leather to be processed into the finished leather. That will then become the raw materials for many of our other leather products, be it bags, be it footwear, and so many other things.
In addition to this, an inspectorate body has been set up to inspect imports at various points of entry.
We have under challenges in trying to verify the exports and imports. We're having a lot of, imports that are being, brought in. Some of them are substandard. So we are creating an inspectorate in the council to verify and make sure what the country is getting is worth what we deserve. So this will support the Kenya Revenue Authority, valuation of exports and imports to ensure proper taxes and other levies are collected and therefore cap cheap imports.